Was always in your daughter's name. When they fell behind in payments, you asked for the truck back. You took the truck back. It was never actually his truck. And with regard to the bankruptcy fees, he said there was never an expectation that you were going to be paid back any money that you did in fact give him. You wanted them to start fresh, and you made a gift to him of that money. Let's talk about the truck. In whose name was the truck titled?
Truck was titled in my daughter's name, Jennifer Marie Hoville. My husband and I were the lien.
If it was Mr. Gray's truck, why wasn't it titled in his name?
He owed DMV fees, and it was all kinds of problems that he had. He had marital problems, he had bankruptcy problems. The problems that he had, he could not put the truck in his name.
Had he filed for bankruptcy before he got the truck?
No, he had not, ma'am.
Okay, Jason, let's come back to you. Listen to me. You got the truck. At the same time, your girlfriend got a car.
Yes.
And both of those came from her parents.
Yes.
Because I read the papers and I put two and two together. So you drove the truck?
Yes, sometimes. Most of the time I did.
Don't play with me.
I'm not playing with you. Everybody drove that truck.
Who's everybody?
She did. Her ex-husband did. Everybody drove that truck. He drove it. I wasn't the only one that drove it.
What kind of work did you do?
I did tree work at the time.
And how did you get to work?
I either had the company truck or I drove that truck.
What company gave you their truck to take home?
It was my brother's company.
What company gave you a truck to take home? Name of the company?
Gray's Tree.
And if I called your brother right now, would he say to me that he allowed you, while you were working for him, to take his truck home on a regular basis?
Yes.
He would?
He would.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay. We may try him later. Now, you want to tell me about the bankruptcy fees that you claim to have loaned him? When was that?
It was May of '08. He had asked for $1,100 for bankruptcy. He needed it immediately because his wife was going to file for all the bank charges that they had, and he had another vehicle that was in there, a Dodge Durango, that had to be repossessed, and he was going to have to pay $8,000 to $9,000 on that. If Jason could not get the bankruptcy.
$1,100 in May of 2008, 2 years ago.
Yes.
Now, in March of '07, you claimed that you registered the truck.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you take out on the truck?
I got a convenience check for $3,000.
Okay, and between March of '07 and May of '08, how much did Mr. Gray pay on the truck?
$400.
So a year and a half after he made literally no payments on the truck, and I assume you were making payments on the truck.
Yes, I still am.
You gave him more money.
Yes, because otherwise he was going to get hit with the fees from his wife, and he was going to have to pay for this Dodge Durango.
I heard the story before.
Okay.
After you gave him the $1,100 in May of 2008, when was the next payment on anything from Mr. Gray?
Nothing.
Well, then where have you been for the last 2 years?
Well, he assured me that in 2009 he was going to get a large sum of money from his taxes and that he would pay me then. Well, I was very lenient with them. I have done everything in my power to love my daughter, even though I felt that she got hooked up with a loser, a drunk, and that's what I felt about him all along. I felt that this was a bad choice that she had made, but she's my daughter, I loved her, and now she had a child by him. And so we felt that we could give him a fresh start, even though we didn't think he was the nicest person on the face of the earth. My husband working in corrections, we thought, well, we'll give him another start. It was a verbal agreement, no need to have anything signed, because I will trust you, and I did. And they faithfully said, he's very manipulative.
He paid nothing.
He paid nothing.
Ms. Hublin, he paid nothing.
He paid nothing. Listen. He said nothing. He made no arrangements. Every time I kindly said, could you please come over and let's talk about this? What do we need to talk about? He feels he's entitled to this, that this was given as a gift. I wouldn't give him anything as a gift because I never liked him. He's a loser. And it's just a matter of time before my daughter finds this out.
She dogged me.
Put your hand down. Put your hand down. How old are you?
32.
How many children do you have?
I've got 3.
And you've had a bankruptcy?
Yes.
And you couldn't afford a car, right? How much money do you send for your children?
Send them...
Don't look over there.
I send them $140 a week.
$140 a week. Do they take that out of your salary?
Yes. I'm all caught up.
Caught up means you were far behind.
I'm there. I'm paid up.
I'll pay for that too.
You ain't paid for nothing.
No. Now,
just listen.
Did I let you speak? I understand
I
where it's at.
apologize.
No, I understand where it's at. I got it. Now, when you had the truck,
When she had the truck.
when you had the truck, did you take the truck off-road?
Yeah, it was a woods truck. I had to take it off wood to get some wood.
Listen to me. If you can answer my questions with a yes or a no, answer
Yes,
it.
I took it off-road.
And you took it off-road for... Put your hands down at your sides. She's right. You'll find out 5 years from now, you won't remember what his face looks like, except every other Saturday, maybe, when he comes by for 4 hours to pick up your child. Maybe. Trust me. Got a nose. Been around the business for a long time. He's got a bad character.
That lady's got a bad
He's
character.
I didn't ask you anything, and I wasn't speaking to you. Put your hands at your sides. Not in your pockets, at your sides.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Well, you've made 2 bad choices in men.
Well, yes, I'm not going to say Jason's perfect. And, you know, neither one of us is perfect.
Listen, none of them are perfect.
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wanda and George Hobile claim the father of their granddaughter, Jason Gray, owes for 2 loans. Jason says he never agreed to pay the money back.
Okay, Jason. They really tried to help you. I read the papers. They really tried to help you, not because of you, but because they cared about their daughter, and she's a grown-up woman, so she made a choice, and you were the choice, and they felt as if they didn't want to lose their child, so sometimes you have to embrace someone who's marginal. Put your hands down. Who's marginal. That would be you. And I actually don't think, based upon what she says, that after a period of time they had a legitimate expectation, especially since you hadn't paid for the truck, that when she bailed you out on the bankruptcy to the tune of $1,100, that she had an expectation that she was going to be paid. She didn't have a legitimate expectation that she was going to be paid because she hadn't gotten paid from a year and a half before. That doesn't make you less a loser, Mr. Gray. And I really just wanted your girlfriend to know that you have one mother, you have one father. Were you married before?
Yes.
Stand up. When you got married, did you think it was going to last?
No.
So you got married thinking that it was going to be temporary. Don't give me answers that you think are going to make you look good, because they're going to make you look stupid.
No, I knew it wasn't going to last. I did it for my son, and it was what was right to do.
And when did it become not right?
When he had an affair on me.
So what did you do?
Him and his girlfriend lived in my house while I raised my son, and then they moved out, and I was stuck there with my son.
That sounds like a very sick arrangement.
Yes, it was.
Well, it sounds like somebody who really needs a great deal of therapy or treatment who would live under that circumstance.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been in it all, our whole life. I'm not going to deny that. I mean, it's been family therapy since we were 5.
That sounds like somebody's trying.
Well, yeah, we all have. And I just wanted to give you just...
Is he in therapy?
No, I don't need no therapy.
Could you please stop, okay? Really, I know the way you think about him and whatever his character is. I'm not going to say one way or another, but I do want to just give you really what this boils down to comes between my parents and me. When I was 15, my was in and out of rehabs for drug use, and so they didn't want that to happen to me. So I wasn't allowed to do anything. I ran away. I stayed gone for a year, and that's when I went with my ex-husband. When I came back, when I was caught and brought in front of the judge, my parents wanted to give me up to social services and wanted me to sign me over to the state because, well, I don't know, they said that they couldn't handle me. And the judge told them that I have not committed any crimes, I'm not into drugs, I'm not into drinking. The only thing I didn't do was go to school, and of course that was because I ran away. And the judge told me that if I can get a job and if I bought a car and got an apartment, he would emancipate me. And 1 month later, I was emancipated in October. And
How old were you?
16. I just turned 16. I was emancipated.
How old are you now?
25. And I've lived out on my own ever since. I've never gone back home to live at my parents. I've always provided a roof over my children's head. And, you know, I'm not going to say that I've been perfect financially. I have worked since the day I was 16. I started at a dollar store. Now I'm making very decent money, good benefits.
Who supports him?
I support me.
He's a welder and a fabricator.
When did he become a welder instead of a tree guy?
2 years ago, in 2008. But I will say his checks are not big because he pays his child support. And his child support comes out of his check every week. But my parents never liked my ex. They don't like anybody unless they're a doctor, lawyer, judge, professional.
I've got to tell you something. You sound like a terrific gal. I'm listening to you, and you just sound like a terrific gal for somebody who probably had a difficult teenage period, and you put yourself together, and you sound intelligent, and you're certainly good looking. And so far, you've made 2 bad choices in men.
Well, yes, I'm not going to say Jason's perfect. And, you know, neither one of us are perfect.
Listen, none of them are perfect.
Right. But he has watched my son. He took my son. My son doesn't have a father.
Then if he was a decent guy,
Yes.
he was, the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to let money interfere with the woman I love and her parents. We did go to them when we needed help. They were there to help. There may have been a lot of history, but when we needed help, they came through.
They were there. Yes.
It was his bankruptcy.
Yes.
Not yours, not theirs. He screwed up. If he were a man, he would say, I'm not going to allow this amount of money to interfere with that relationship. If they have other issues, I don't want their issues to be about me.
You're correct.
Great. And I said to you, I'm looking at you, and you look like a great gal who doesn't have to settle.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My children
hurt.
They want to know why they can't get emails with me. You know, they want to know why they can't get some pops. He calls them.
That's absolutely so sad.
It is.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wanda and George Hobile claim the father of their granddaughter, Jason Gray, owes for 2 loans. Jason says he never agreed to pay the money back.
Okay. You know, sometimes it's better to be alone. Sometimes it's better to be alone.
He is a great father. I mean, I go to school full time.
He's a great father. Then he'd want his children to have affection of grandparents that he evidently went over to when he needed money. He needed $1,100. You have a brother, Alan, the tree surgeon. Did he give you $1,100 that you needed?
He was going to.
No. Did he give it to you?
No.
He's related to you by blood. You're not even married to her. You have a father?
Yes.
Did you go to your father?
No.
No.
I went to my brother.
No, listen to me. Jason, you got where I'm going? Strangers bailed you out. Strangers gave you $1,100.
May I just...
Yeah, sure. Tell me.
A lot of this, and I know that, yes, it was all for him, but I was the one who asked for it. I'm the one who went to them. They don't even communicate with Jason. Jason doesn't communicate with them.
Just a second. Did Jason take the $1,100 from you?
Yes, he did accept it. Yes, he did.
Then he should have paid them back.
We paid some of it. We paid around $200 to $300. It was so long ago, and they have not been asking for the money until December, when my mother and I had a falling out.
What did you have a falling out with your mother about?
We had a falling out because my mother likes to control all of her kids' lives, and she does. And
I sort of know that. I understand that.
well, my mother wants those years that we didn't have when I was younger because my took so much of it. And so my mom wants those years back. And she's got to learn that I have my own family as well now. And my children I barely see because I work so much and I go to school full time. I've got my associate's degree and now I'm working on my bachelor's. So over the past 5 years, that's what I've been doing. And my mom, when I'm in her life, she wants the phone call every day. She wants me to answer her phone every day. On the weekends, she wants me to come by. She's asking for time with me, and that's understandable. She's my mother. But my children are not allowed to come. She does not call my children. She did not call my children on their birthday. She will see my children maybe 3 times a year, and that is not by my choice. My children used to ask about Pops. Pops used to take him up on the mountain, and he's not allowed to do that.
So she wants to see you.
Well, yes, but, you know, my children hurt. They want to know why they can't get emails with me. You know, they want to know why they can't get see Pops. My children does not even call my parents Meemaw and Pops anymore. My son the other day seen my vehicle out at the parking lot for sale. My son told his daughter that that is my mom's car now. He doesn't even call her Meemaw.
Well, that's absolutely so sad.
It is.
It's absolutely we so sad because I have a sense that there's lots of misunderstanding between you and your mother. Not your father. He looks as if he just wants everybody to be happy.
Out of it. He's my teddy bear, and I love him.
But there looks like there's lots of unhappiness.
It's communication. It's a lack of communication.
Listen to me. The only thing is, if there's a lack of communication between you, eventually it'll work itself out. You see the arms crossed?
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Actually, he doesn't care that, aside from the fact that...
No, I care. I just want to say something.
If you cared, and if they said, listen, we feel foolish, we gave you this money, and we would like to have it back, then you would say, listen, I don't want that to interfere, because I actually don't think that they had an expectation of being paid back, so I'm not granting them a judgment. That means that despite the fact that I'm not crazy about you, you won.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay, Jason, you can win or you can lose. And if you want to live with a happy woman and somebody who's been through a lot but sounds to me like a great gal, works hard, supports her children, because you don't support them. You support, no, you don't. You support your other two children and maybe yourself. But as she says, his checks aren't very big because they take out his child support.
Bills.
Yes, but he does provide them with love. I mean, my son...
Just a second.
Yes.
You know, you could die of starvation on love.
Yeah.
I'm talking about supporting them. You support them, and not only do you support them, according to what you tell me, which I believe, but you also say, listen, I want to get my degree. I want to move my life forward in a different direction.
Yes.
All sounds great. All sounds terrific, and we can never go back to the past. You know, if there was a child that took a great deal of attention, sometimes that happens. Whether it's somebody who's physically sick, who has MS or MD or has cancer, sometimes, you know, a drug addiction takes more emotional fortitude very often than a physiological illness. So I'm sure that if they had to do it all over again, they may have allocated their time a little bit better. But that's history. And when you were in trouble and you needed something, they were there for you. So try to work it out. Are you the other daughter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there in the middle for everything.
Just a second. You get along with your parents?
Yeah, I do.
Get along with your sister?
It's been rocky because of everything going on, but I try and maintain at least somewhat of a relationship to see my niece and nephew.
And do you?
Yes, I do.
Good. I'm glad. Goodbye.
Parties are excused when they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Johnny Rogers is suing the father of his girlfriend's children, Donnell Little, for making a false report to Child Protective Services and for handing out defamatory flyers to his neighbors.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 35 on the calendar in the matter of Rogers versus Little.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Rogers, this is your girlfriend, I assume.
Yes, ma'am.
And your girlfriend has 2 children.
3, Your Honor.
Well, 2 of them are his children.
Yes.
How long have you and this young lady been together?
About 18 months.
And you live together?
Yes.
It is your claim that Mr. Little filed maliciously a false child protective complaint against you.
Yes.
And in addition, he put up some flyers around the area.
He didn't put them up, he handed them out.
Or handed them out. And what they did was to describe a prior, I assume, criminal conviction that you have.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Little says he was legitimately concerned for his children and he had an absolute right to file the Child Protective Services complaint. That's what the case is about.
Yes.
You acknowledge that you called Child Protective Services.
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to tell me why.
I called because...
Look at me. Don't look there.
Okay.
Look at me.
All right. How you doing?
Don't ask me how I'm doing. I'm doing fine.
I'm sorry. I called because she dropped my sons off to me. As she came to the door, my son was full of feces.
How old is he?
He's 6.
Did you ask him what happened?
Yeah, he said, I told Mommy I had to go to the bathroom. She told me to hold it.
And he couldn't. Okay. Keep going.
I asked him, I took him, put him in the tub
Took
and
him
everything.
and you cleaned him up.
Yes, but she didn't have no bag for him, like no clothes, like spending the night, because they stayed till Sunday. So it was like, why would you bring them over and you don't have no clothes for them.
Well, when is your normal visitation, Mr. Little?
His visitation is each and every other weekend because I do music, so sometimes I don't have time.
Okay, so you have visits every other weekend for the weekend?
Yes.
Why don't you have clothes at your house?
I do. I do.
Fine. So you changed them.
Yeah.
So she didn't have to bring clothes for him to spend the night. You have clothes at your house. So he had an accident.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm listening.
Okay, so this is not the only time CPS been involved. Okay.
I'm asking you, what were the things that happened that caused you to call Child Protective Service beside the accident
Besides
that
the
he
accident,
had?
they come dirty. Their clothes is dirty. Their socks look like they had it on for 2 weeks.
Keep going.
I bathe them. The dirt in the tub is like they played in mud all day. And then I'm asking her why my kids have to come here dirty. Outside clothes supposed to be dirty. Not your
Keep
inside.
going.
You want me to keep going? Keep going.
I want you to tell me what caused you to call Child Protective Services.
Oh, because of that. He was dirty. They filled of this and dirty and everything.
So you called because your children were dirty.
Yes.
And because he had had an accident in his pants because his mother wouldn't pull over or take him to a bathroom.
Yes.
Why didn't you go and file for custody of your children?
I'm going to joint custody.
No, not I'm going to.
No. I'm, as we speak now, process. Because I haven't seen my son.
When did you call Child Protective Services?
December.
When did you file for custody?
In January.
And what's the status of that case?
They didn't call us yet to come to court or whatever yet.
And you went in and filed what kind of a petition?
I filled out first the violation because I haven't seen my son in a month.
Just a second. You saw your son's December of 2009.
Okay.
What kind of petition did you file in January 2010? First you told me custody, then you said violation.
Violation that she violated for not letting me see them.
When was the last time you saw them?
A month ago.
So you saw them in January?
No, I haven't been seeing my son. I be on the road a lot. I see them if they outside, stop by like going outside, not them coming over spending the night.
What do you mean you've been on the road a lot, Mr. Little?
Shows, I do shows, musician.
Mm-hmm. How much child support do you send for them? Is not an answer. How much child support do you send for them?
$50 a week. Besides paying the $50, I do buy other things besides that. Just paying my $50
You haven't seen them, according to you. You're traveling on the road. Don't play with me. Are you in arrears in your child support?
Not that I know of.
What do you mean, not that you know of? Have you been sending your money every week pursuant to the order?
Right here.
Show me. Take this back. I'm not interested in this. I'm not interested in this. This is what fathers do for their children. I assume that those are receipts for clothes and things that you bought.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
Stand up. Over there. Your last name is?
Tunley.
Miss Tunley, you get $50 a week from him?
No. I've been getting the money since the court ordered it from the Child Collection Service.
Since when?
Since October 13th of last year.
Of last year, since October of 09, it's been coming directly to?
Child support.
And you send it to child support?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, well, they look like there may be a couple missing.
I doubled up, but if you look at it, it says 100.
But for the most part, he's current in his child support, which is $50 a week. Is that right?
He has arrears.
For the most part, he's current. Okay. Do you work?
No, not no more.
How do you support your children?
I was on unemployment. It just stopped, so I'm still looking for work as of now.
Now, prior to the money going to child support enforcement, were you ever taken to court for arrears in child support?
No, ma'am.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Rogers, you indicate to me that you can prove to my satisfaction that he called Child Protective Services maliciously.
Your Honor, I got a tape record, and he knows when he calls the house that everybody's recorded because this is where I do my business.
Is what you're telling me that you recorded his voice?
Yes, I recorded him in the conversation about why he called CPS.
I'd like to hear it. Want to give it to me, Bert?
I say something to that?
No.
Okay.
I have to hear it.
All right, all right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What is this?
This is
the
that he's a
registry.
sex offender, registered sex offender, that he touched little boys and girls.
This is an incident that happened when I was 19 years old. It was one case with 2 people, and it was 3 older adults.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jelani Rogers claims the father of his girlfriend's children, Donnell Little, made false accusations to CPS and passed out defamatory flyers to his neighbors.
Go ahead.
He sacrificed his time, his life. So don't tell me about what I'm sacrificing and you don't know what my plans are.
You made me a part of it when you called CPS.
You became a part of it because Tanika wanted to speak her mouth and say what the she said. Same way she sat there and say, oh, you told me to call CPS? Fine, I call CPS. That's the same he just did. So you want to call tit for tat. Tit for tat.
Got it.
But that's like calling the police and you're against the rapper. That don't matter.
Is that it?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she do to you, Mr. Little?
First of all,
What did she do to you, Mr. Little?
they called my mother. My mother called me in because he claimed to my mother that, oh, I don't want to have no problem with your son. My mother called me. I told my mother I didn't want to speak to him. My family said, you know, just speak to him because he's saying he don't want no problems. So if you notice that it just jumped into an argument, that's because he was already saying stuff to me. And I'm telling him, as a man, you're sitting there telling me about calling CPS. And I'm telling him, well, as a man, you would call CPS too if your kid came the way my kid came to me.
That's not what you said there. What you said there was it's tit for tat. She called your mother, and you're calling CPS was, according to you, tit for tat.
Not tit for tat.
That's what you said.
I said tit for tat for what are you talking about?
Your Honor, he's saying it's tit for tat because the argument that they had before October 13th, them going to court for child support. Prior to this child support, he's never paid child support. I've been with her for 18 months.
Just a second. Is that true? Because I only have it dating back till October. So the question was, have you ever been taken to court for child support?
No, they just started taking me to court in October.
Have you been paying child support?
Yeah, I've been paying child support for my kids before child support even ordered me to child support. It was, like I said, it was $50. That's what they ordered me. But before then, it was $250, $200, $100 apiece.
So why are you only paying $50 now?
Because
he's a liar.
The reason I'm paying...
No, if you were paying $250, Mr. Little, why
am I
only paying $50 now?
Because when I went to child support, they asked me, what do I have to show? I proved all my receipts. On top of that, I have bank statements, but I have CDs for my kids for when they get older. There's money in the bank account for them. So it's right. I've been paying what I'm supposed to have been paying. So, you know, the judge looked at it and was like, well, Ms. Tunnelly, he is doing what he's supposed to do.
Did you file tax returns last year?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because I didn't get a chance to.
What about the year before? What about the year before?
No.
Okay. Now I'd like to see the complaint that was sent to Child Protective Services about you.
What I have here is...
I have to see what he said about.
Okay, this is the only letter that they sent us. They don't never give us the full complaint, but this is the letter.
I have to see. Listen, Mr. Rogers, that's part of the complaint. I can't help you. If he said to the Child Protective Services, listen, my girlfriend doesn't keep the children clean, and she caused my son to have an accident in his pants, well, that would be true. If he said something about you,
here it is right here.
then I'd like to see it.
And here's the unfounded letter to that, too.
And I have the paper from they sent me.
I'd like to see it. Did you call Child Protective Services on him?
I never called Child Protective Service on him.
Well, is what you're telling me somebody called Child Protective Services about you?
Yes.
Well, who do you know did that?
Them.
How do you know that? She says she didn't. Did you?
I didn't.
I don't know what this is about, sir. All I know is he was made the subject of a report that you acknowledge that you called in. And when I just asked you before, on what basis did you call Child Protective Services, there was zero complaint about him, which means you had no basis to call Child Protective Services about him.
Listen, they called me back. When they found that he lived there, because if you look at this, it was a different address there where he lived at than the address that he has now. And when they called me, they asked me, do I know anybody who's supposed to be staying there? And I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. I had this. Well, I just pulled this off from the school, because the school found out what he is and what he does.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Excuse me, Your Honor. First of all, he knew about this, what he's trying to say, in the summertime.
What is this?
This is that he's a sex offender, registered sex offender, that he touched little boys and girls.
He was going around, just what he said. He was going around. This is an incident that happened when I was 19 years old. I made a mistake at 19.
Twice.
I apologized for it. It wasn't twice. It was one case. It was one case with 2 people, and it was 3 older adults.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think you're all scamming the system one way or another. And I think there's a certain psychology that I'm seeing that's going on and that's making me very uncomfortable.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jelani Rogers says the father of his girlfriend's children, Donnell Little, owes for making false accusations to CPS and for defaming his character.
How old are you now?
I'm 30, about to be 31 next month.
Is this the last time you were arrested?
No, it wasn't. I got arrested on an unrelated fighting charge 3 years after that. Other than that, I haven't been in trouble in like 6 to 7 years, right? I'm no longer on parole. I don't have any restrictions, anything. Because if I had any restrictions, I wouldn't be able to live right across the street from the kid's school.
But if you look on it, the address is not the same.
Your Honor, I have proof that I now have joint custody of my kids. If I was a pedophile like you said I was.
My concern, Mr. Little.
My concern is about my boys.
No. If you were concerned about your boys, sir, you wouldn't be on the road. If you were concerned
But that's the way I make a living.
The federal government doesn't know about that, sir. We understand each other? If you're concerned about your boys living with him and living with her, find a job in Yonkers and get custody of your children and stay in Yonkers and raise your children. But you only care about them when you're not on the road.
No, you can't tell me I don't care about my kids.
No. If I thought somebody was harming my children, I guarantee you I wouldn't be on the road. If I thought my children were being molested or not cared for, I would have been in the courthouse, sir, last summer.
I am in the courthouse.
No.
You can't tell me what I'm fighting my kids for, like, you know.
You're not fighting for your kids.
You can say everybody has
a lawyer?
As right now?
As right now, as we speak,
no,
Mr. Little. Well, since you don't pay taxes and you paid practically nothing in child support, then you should have enough money to have a lawyer to file an order to show cause alleging that your children are at risk and you want immediate custody.
Well, if the court...
You haven't seen him in a month.
Ma'am, if the court... It's the violation for her. I haven't seen my son because of her.
That's what I said to you,
If I'm walking up the hill
You're not following me, Mr. Little.
But if
I know you're used to being in control.
No, it's not me being in control, but you're telling me, you're like, oh, because they told you to pay less. It's not my fault. I was paying more before I was paying less. She chose to take me to court because they felt that I was making so much millions of dollars or whatever, you know what I mean? So they wanted to take me to child support then, because before I wasn't going to child support. She was getting everything for my sons as I gave it, with no problem. They figured they seen a video, they seen a CD that came out, oh, he got millions. Now let's take him to child support and try to get more money. It didn't happen that way because the bank statements and everything for my kids spoke for itself. So if the judge sit there and like, well, he's doing his thing, just telling me, and they asked her if she wanted it.
Mr. Little, listen to me very carefully.
Yes.
I'm 10 times ahead of you, sir.
Okay.
If you've got bank statements with you as custodians or in joint accounts for your children, whose social security number did you use to open the accounts?
Mine.
No, because then the federal government would take it if they knew that you were earning money and didn't file tax returns. That's what people do when they live in this country. If they make a video and they're making money, they file tax returns.
The label I'm signed to or whatever. They did that. They did their paperwork with that, with the filing and everything.
Everybody files taxes that earns money on April 15th of every year, Mr. Little. And my fault with you lies in the fact that I listened to the tape and you said that's what happens. It's tit for tat.
You heard a part when we was arguing back and forth.
I heard what you said.
Okay, you didn't hear the whole tape. He wouldn't play the whole tape. Why? You know what I mean? They called my mother's house to speak to me.
Actually,
I didn't want to speak to them.
What does that have to do with Child Protective Services?
Because he's talking to me. We talking to the man. He's like Child Protective. I like, dog, I call Child Protective because of this.
Because of what?
Because, one, I don't want you around my kids.
Yeah, but you knew, sir. You knew about these convictions during the summer.
No,
2009.
no.
Conviction
not in
the
no
summer. Well, when did you find out about it?
December. The same time with the child, with the CPS.
Your Honor.
In December.
Your Honor.
Yes.
The day of his kid's birthday was his August 9th. He came up there and confronted me about why did I say that I wasn't taking care of my kids. I asked him why was he going around passing out flyers. He knew that, matter of fact, it was the last week in July. He knew that from July on to the birthday party, 3 weeks, all this drama was happening because he was passing out flyers.
It stated in your Facebook that when you came on it.
When were you notified, sir, that someone had made a complaint about you to Child Protective Services?
In December.
And who did you think did it?
I know who did it. Think, okay.
Who did you think did it?
Miss Tully and Mr. Rogers.
How many other children do you have?
I have a daughter.
With whom?
With my baby mother. With my other baby mother.
Have you ever been in court with the mother of your daughter?
No, ma'am.
Do you support her?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
A lot. He lives here.
Sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
How much?
Whatever my baby moms tell me that she needs this for my daughter, she needs pictures, she needs this or that, whatever.
I think that you called Child Protective Services on him out of spite.
No, ma'am.
But I also think that you probably all deserve each other. I think that you probably use Child Protective Services as a weapon.
This is not the first time.
I think that you all use Child Protective Services as a weapon, and I think you're all scamming the system one way or another. He works, he's not supposed to live there, you get public housing, you get food stamps, all of which you didn't tell me, you also get unemployment insurance, that's what you told me. You haven't paid taxes in years. There's a certain psychology that I'm seeing that's going on and that's making me very uncomfortable. So there's no question in my mind, Mr. Little, that you called on this one occasion Child Protective Services on Mr. Rogers out of spite. As you say, tit for tat. But I'm not sure that you were the only one who did it. So on your complaint, Mr. Rogers, I'm awarding you $500, not $5,000. Do you understand?
Yes.
That's all.
Excuse you may step down, sir, ma'am, wait here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy, Jason Sparks is suing his ex-roommate, Renee Esky, for assaulting him with a beer bottle and then having him falsely arrested.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 18 on the calendar in the matter of Sparks versus Esky.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Miss Esky, what do you do for a living?
I'm a waitress.
Who do you work for?
The Greek Corner on Orange Avenue in Orlando, Florida.
How long have you worked there?
I've been there now for 4 months.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was working at a club in Orlando.
What kind of club?
A nightclub.
Doing what?
Serving.
How long were you there?
I was there on and off for about 8 months.
What does that mean, on and off?
I didn't always work there full-time. I had taken a couple breaks.
How do you get to work?
Now I take the bus because I don't have a vehicle anymore.
How did you get to work then when you were working at the club?
I used to have a Toyota Avalon.
So you had a car? Did you have car payments?
Yes.
Did you have insurance?
Yes.
You had rent?
Yes.
And you were still able to work part-time?
Yes.
On and off? Do you have any other source of income?
No.
Mr. Sparks, you answered an ad on Craigslist and rented a room from the defendant, claimed she assaulted you, and in addition, she had you falsely arrested. This happened almost a year ago. You want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
Where have you been the last year?
Well, I was arrested and I had a charge against me, and I was waiting to that fizzle out before I made any commitments to file a lawsuit.
You had a charge against you emanating from Miss Esky's complaint?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that resolved?
It was resolved December the 8th, 2009.
Can I see the complaint that she filed against you, just so that I have the information, and then you can start from the beginning?
Yes, ma'am.
While you're looking for it, you want to tell me when you answered this ad on Craigslist?
I actually answered the Craigslist ad in the 1st of September.
Where were you working in Orlando at the time?
I work as a subcontractor painter. I've been working for the same company for going on 9 years.
Okay. I'll just take, if you have a copy of the police report.
I do have a copy of a police report. That was the night in question that I was attacked. The police came to the hospital when I was admitted.
Let's go back for a second.
Okay.
All right, so you took the room eventually, and when did you move in?
September the 16th, I believe it was, Your Honor.
Okay.
I was very impressed with the place.
Tell me about the assault.
On September the 27th, I was taking a nap. I'm a football guy, so Sundays I dedicate my life to watching football on Sundays. So I was in my room watching television, watching football, and at some point I dozed off and I fell asleep. Around 2:30 that afternoon, Renee come into my room and grabbed me by my shoulder and started cursing me, calling me names, and asking me what happened to her money. You stole my money. You stole my money. She then proceeded to go to my closet, pull out a bunch of clothes, start ransacking my room, picked up a belt, which I had a buckle on it, and she started beating me with the buckle, beating me hard with the buckle. Her witness was there. I'm not really sure what role he was playing in. It was happening so fast. I got around him, and I went outside. Renee and her witness came outside a couple of minutes later. I saw them drive off the property, and I went to a friend's house. 4, 5, 6 hours later, I came back to the apartment. No one was there. Went to my room, and the reason I went back to the apartment is because I had paid my rent. I had really nowhere else to go. I had put all my money into this. I come back, like I said, Sunday evening. No one was there. I got up Monday morning. I had a huge bruise on my arm. I had to work. I don't never miss a day of work, ever. Went to work with Bobby. Came home that evening. No one was there. About 8:30, Renee comes in. I'm in my room. I pretty much just stayed in my room the whole time I was there, either there or out on the balcony overlooking the swimming pool. It was kind of comfort zone for me. But at this point, I was in my room, and Renee knocked on the door several times. I told her I did not want to speak with her. She persisted on knocking on my door. She wanted to resolve it. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt, and I walked outside on the balcony and spoke with Renee and her witness as well. About 5 minutes as we were in the conversation discussing...
Tell me about the conversation.
The conversation was basically like she was sorry, she was apologetic, she didn't think that I took any money from her, she had went out, she was drinking. I blew it off. I didn't know really how to react. I was really shocked on how someone could do something like that.
Just the facts.
Okay.
Just the facts.
Well, we had the conversation. The conversation lasted no more than about 4 or 5 minutes. Someone rang the doorbell. Renee and her witness got up, went to the door. I'm still out on the balcony. A gentleman walks in the apartment with these gloves on, like sort of like a motorcycle glove type. I can only see him through the sliding glass door. They three proceed to her room, and they don't come out of her bedroom for 3, 4, or 5 minutes. I started getting that eerie feeling. I felt really weird. I had a terrible feeling about the whole situation, so I said, okay, I'm going to make my way to my bedroom and just leave it at that and stay there. I just I had a bad feeling about it.
I got the bad feeling.
So about 5 or 10 minutes later, there was a beating, a banging on my door. I heard her witness call my name. I then said, I don't want to talk. I don't understand what's going on. Within seconds, the gentleman with the motorcycle gloves busts into my room, has me cornered, takes 3 swings at me. He misses. I don't know how he missed. Call me Rocky Balboa. But I dodged him, and I got around him. Her witness was standing behind him. I got past him. I went into the foyer. As soon as I got into the foyer, Renee was standing there, and she threw a beer bottle. It shattered on the corner of the baseboard right there, striking me in the foot. I must have maybe stepped on glass on my way out, called 911, had a neighbor call 911.
You have that report as well?
I have the 911 entries.
I'd like to see it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He went to his closet and got a metal pipe out of the closet. He goes, I don't hit women, but this pipe does. And he was swinging it like this into his hand. I ran to my room, locked the door.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Sparks says ex-roommate Renee Eske assaulted him during an argument and then had him falsely arrested. Renee claims Jason attacked her with a metal pipe.
Now, when did you first, Miss Eske, tell Mr. Sparks that you didn't want him to smoke in the house?
It was about the 3rd day. I had gone to talk to him, and the room smelled like cigarette smoke.
Okay, so he came in on September 16th, and by the 19th, you realized he was smoking in the house, and you went in to have a discussion with him about smoking.
He tried to deny it.
Just a second.
Okay. Sorry, Your Honor.
I want you to tell me what you said to him and what he said to you about the smoking.
I told him that it was a non-smoking house, and we had already discussed that, and if you wanted to smoke, you can go out on the balcony. So I didn't see any reason to be smoking in the room.
And
he tried to say that he wasn't smoking. The next day, I pulled up in my car, and he was actually like in the window blowing smoke out the window. And when he saw me, he ducked back into the window.
Okay. So what did you tell him then?
Well, when I knocked on his door, he was immediately very aggressive, you know, was like, leave me the F alone, and I paid my money and I can do whatever I want here. And I said, well, no, that's not true. This is my place and I'm renting a room and it's a non-smoking house. I mean, if you don't like it, then after your time is up, you can find somewhere else to live. Well, the next day I went to work and I came home and he had casually asked me, how was my day at work? And I had said it was a rough day and my feet hurt. Well, he made a motion to rub my feet. Like, he actually touched my foot and was like, I could rub them. I gave him a look and I was like, okay, there is nothing like that going to go on here. This is
nonsense.
She didn't interrupt you. Don't interrupt her.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Roommate situation. And I just figured, you know, since there was no other advance and he shook his head yes, and we had an understanding. But it was after that, the next morning, I had like $150 missing from my wallet. And, you know, he said right off the bat, he didn't take the money. I asked him because there was nobody else there. And he was like, oh, well, maybe you stopped somewhere. Maybe when you went to 7-Eleven, you dropped the money. Well, I've been going to that 7-Eleven for 10 years. Well, point was, they reviewed the tapes. I didn't drop any money there.
I don't care.
So he keeps saying, you know, he didn't take the money, he didn't take the money. Well, the next day, my witness came over, and we had had a couple drinks, whatever, hanging out. And he had told me that, you know, his wallet and keys were up in the kitchen, that he had $200 missing out of his wallet. So we decided to both talk to Jason and ask him about the money.
I don't understand something. Your witness comes over for what?
Because we're friends.
So what did he come over for?
Just to hang out.
Okay, and you were having a drink.
Mm-hmm.
What was his wallet doing out of his pants?
I don't know.
I have lots of friends that come over to my house. Their wallets are not, their wallets are not out of their pants. The only one who takes their wallet out in my house and puts it on a table is my husband. So I don't believe your witness that he had his wallet out and $200 was missing, unless he sleeps over and his wallet was somewhere in the house. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Because it doesn't make sense, and if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. We understand each other?
Your Honor, that's exactly what had happened.
Well, that's not what she said.
Well, she forgot.
That's not what she said.
I hadn't gotten to that part. He did stay on the couch because
Just a second. That's not what you said, sir.
That's exactly what happened, is that I stayed the night because she was fearing for her life from what he had accosted her with, from some of the statements that he had made that were not true.
Stand up, sir. Right now, nobody... What's your last name?
Cropper.
Mr. Cropper, up until this point, he hasn't said anything to her. They haven't had any altercation at all. And the baloney about touching her feet is just that because it's not in her answer. The only thing that she said to him was, my money is missing, and he said, I didn't take it. That was it.
Okay, so, Your Honor, after that had happened, he offered for her to go into his room and look and see if the money was there. He also had his wallet on the bed. While he was giving her the opportunity to look at everything, she picked up the wallet to go look at that. That's when he grabbed her finger and twisted it back. At that time, she called me into the room. And
you didn't see that.
Yes,
you did.
Just a minute. You just said she called you back into the room. How could you have seen what he did to her finger if you were outside the room?
She called me into the room.
You just said...
Because I was standing at the doorway.
You just said to me, sir, it's never going to get better, Mr. Cropper.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I understand.
Are you looking at me and telling me you saw him twist her finger? Is that what you're telling me? Be very careful what you're telling me, Mr. Cropper. Are you telling me you saw him twist her finger?
Yes, I did. Because she was sitting on the bed looking through the wallet. When he grabbed her finger and twisted it, her thumb, I'm sorry, and twisted it back, that's when she called out, Freddie, got my finger and started crying out. I went in the room and grabbed him by his shoulders. That's where his bruise came from.
Where were you?
I was right at the doorway of his room. I wasn't inside his room.
What were you doing at the doorway of his room, Mr. Cropper?
When we confronted him about the money, Jason said, feel free to search anything in the room.
And I didn't enter into the room.
I looked through everything. He only had a problem when I got to the wallet, because he's standing there in the doorway, too, watching.
Who's standing in the doorway?
They were both standing there watching me search. I didn't find anything when I got to the wallet.
Ma'am, I was actually asleep taking a nap.
No, he wasn't.
And she busted into my room and picked me up by my shoulder, and he was right behind her. She went to my closet, started ransacking my room. She took my stereo, picked it up, slammed it, took my alarm clock, smashed it across my television, and it is very true. My witness seen the damages that happened to my room. I took him my alarm clock that she dismangled across my television.
Well, the television set is one thing, an alarm clock is something else.
I understand.
Sir. We don't have anything in here. Damaged several of his music CDs and sunglasses.
Yes.
Well, all of a sudden that got a little worse just now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I actually spoke to law enforcement to see how I could get him out, and they told me I would have to have him legally evicted.
Ma'am.
Listen, don't interrupt her again, because now we're getting to the good part.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jason Sparks is accusing his former roommate, Renee Esky, of attacking him with a beer bottle and then having him falsely arrested.
Okay, when, Mr. Cropper, for the first time, did the defendant tell you she wanted the plaintiff out of her house because of his smoking?
From my recollection, it was after, it was never because of the smoking that I can remember. That was one of the reasons. The main reason was the pipe.
That's not what I asked you, Mr. Cropper.
You know what? My main problem wasn't the fact of just the smoking itself. Like I said, there was a problem actually before I told you. When I knocked on the door and I confronted him the second time about the smoking, that's when he had told you, oh, I can do whatever the F I want.
Right.
It was the attitude about it that I had the problem with.
Listen, I don't disagree with you. It's your house, and if you made an agreement with him that there was no smoking inside the house, you can enforce that rule and tell him if you're going to smoke, this is not going to work.
Right.
Do you understand? I agree with that. I don't agree with you trying to get him out of your house because of that and utilizing some other reason to get him out of the house. And you got a lot of money in your wallet for somebody who's not working and who has no visible source of income except a part-time waitressing job, which is what you told me you had. That's a lot of cash that you had in your house.
That was all the money I made that night, and it was gone. And then when I had a friend, and he did stay over on the couch, and he's saying when his wallet and keys were out there on the counter, the next day he said his money and his wallet was missing. That's why we both confronted him.
Why would Mr. Cropper, after you told him that your money was missing, leave his wallet out on the counter? He's coming over to sleep over because you've told him that the person who lives in your house is a thief and stole money out of your wallet. Why would he leave his money out on the counter in his wallet? That doesn't make sense to me. Okay, let me see your hospital report, please, of the second incident that involved the glass.
Okay.
You want to tell me, Miss Exie, what happened with the glass bottle?
The second incident with the bottle, he's over again, and there's a third person over.
Who's the third person?
The third person is named David, and David is a friend of Fred's.
Right.
Jason...
Anybody drinking?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Jason had opened up the sliding door, you know, this is after our incident, and he had an attitude, and he actually said that he cooked some food and used the B word. He's like, I cooked some food. B word. And when he said that, like, Fred and David actually had a problem with that, and like David is like in the dark about the whole situation, and he's like, what's up with your roommate, you know? And I started telling him what was going on. Well, David was like, you know, I think we should go have a talk with him. I was actually in my bathroom, and I heard a commotion, and those two said that they had knocked on his door, and I guess there were some words exchanged, some of them being the N-word, and David ended up taking a swing at Jason and missed. And he had told me that Jason was holding his beer bottle in his hand, and like when he took the swing, Jason ducked and ran past him out the house. And when he ran out, he told me that he had no shoes on and his beer bottle was still in his hand.
Ma'am, I was not drinking that night.
He was drinking every night.
I don't drink during the week.
Yeah, so were you.
I drink...
Just up. So were you. So was he. And so was your other friend. I have a feeling this was a house that I would not want to live in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you the victim of an assault? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, I want you to tell me what you had him arrested for, Miss Exie.
Okay, the later incident, it was about 8:30 in the morning, and Jason had actually been gone for about 3 days, and he still insisted upon coming back. No. And I actually spoke to law enforcement to see how I could get him out, and they told me I would have to have him legally evicted.
Ma'am.
Oh, listen.
Okay.
Don't interrupt her again, because now we're getting to the good part.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he came back after 3 days.
He came back, and like I had actually talked to my... Okay.
He came back after 3 days, and he had fully paid for the month.
Yes.
Okay.
And like,
you called the police and said, I don't want him here. And the police said, hey, 10 steps ahead of you. And the police says to you, you're going to have to formally evict him. He has the right to be here.
Yes.
Next.
So they had told me it could be a long process.
Of course it can be a long process.
When
yes,
I told him about it, he said, you know, I know my rights, and he said, go ahead, try to make me. And like, what I didn't understand was, after all this stuff, if he feels so threatened, all this is going on, why did he keep coming back?
I asked you why you had him arrested.
At 8:30 in the morning, he comes in the apartment, and he's like, things are going to happen my way from now on. He's like, if I see any of your, and he said, N-word friends, he's like, this is what I'm going to do. He went to his closet and got a metal pipe out of the closet. And he was like, if you don't start doing things my way, he goes, I don't hit women, but this pipe does. And he was taking the pipe, and he was swinging it like this into his hand. As soon as he did that, because he was right up in my face, I was like, this is crazy. I took out my cell phone. I told him I was calling the police. I ran to my room, locked the door.
I want to see your complaint.
May I say something, Your Honor?
No, not yet. Okay. I'm not satisfied, Mr. Sparks, with regard to the assault that you allege was committed on you by the defendant. I am, however, satisfied that she had you falsely arrested because she wanted you out of her apartment, and the only way she could get you out of the apartment was to have you arrested. She had already contacted the police the day before. Police said there's no way that she could get you out of the apartment because you had paid your rent for that month. And I do not believe that you threatened her. I do not believe that you terrorized her. So I find in your favor in the amount of $1,500. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out, sir. Wait here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Yeah, it's case number 68 on the calendar in the matter of Dinger versus Green.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat.
Ms. Dinger, this is your husband's ex-wife. They have 4 children.
Yes.
So I have some preliminary questions. Ms. Green, when were you divorced?
It was July of 2004.
And where were you divorced? In what state?
Idaho.
And you are currently remarried?
Correct.
When did you remarry?
December of 2008.
Is this your husband?
Yes, it is.
And where was he from?
He's from Riverton, Utah.
When you were divorced in July of 2004, what kind of visitation or custody arrangement was made by the court?
Basically, he took the kids on his days off from work, which worked out to 1 week it was a Friday through until Tuesday night, and then the next week it was just a Wednesday, Thursday.
And that situation extended until what month and year?
Until we did a modification in 2007.
To what?
To more of a standard every other weekend arrangement.
And who initiated that proceeding?
I did.
And what was the reason for initiating alternate weekends?
I found that the children being with him for 5 days in a row, their schoolwork was not performing. It was difficult for them to be gone from me for that long.
Did you have a trial?
No, it was agreed to between our attorneys.
You wouldn't happen to have copies of your proceeding?
I do not.
I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see it.
There is a copy of what was filed and also what was agreed to and stipulated.
I would like to see it. Would you stand up, Mr. Green? Mr. Green, in what month and year did you meet your wife?
July of 2008.
Where did you meet her?
I met her over in Boise on a 4th of July event.
And what kind of work do you do in Utah?
I work for Kennecott Utah Copper. I'm a maintenance planner.
Do you recall when your wife moved to modify the agreement so that she could relocate to Utah?
I believe that was in December of 2008.
And what's the status of that case?
It's settled, yeah.
And what's the settlement?
That we were allowed to move my wife and the kids to Utah.
How often does Mr. Dinger see his children now?
We alternate Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yes.
He has 2 weeks in June, roughly, and 2 weeks in August, according to their school schedules. And we do also alternate spring break.
So other than holidays, he doesn't see the children regularly as he had done between July of 2004 and December of 2008.
That's
That would be a fair statement.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you filed this petition and made certain allegations against both Miss Dinger and your former husband. And at the end of this case, you agreed to alternate weekend visitation.
Yes.
Now, when were you married to Mr. Dinger?
November 30th, 2004.
Now we have some background. And you have 2 children together and you have 4 children of your own?
Yes, I do.
It is your claim that Miss Green filed false charges against you.
Absolutely.
In an attempt to get a leg up You don't say that. That's what I say. In an attempt to get a leg up in her lawsuit against her former husband to allow her to move from Idaho to Utah to be with her husband.
Yes.
The critical question for me is, when did she file the complaint against you?
She filed the complaint on the 13th of November in 2008, following an incident between me and my husband. We had agreed to separate due to some issues that we were having.
She claims that there was an act of domestic violence.
There was not.
Did you call the police?
No.
Have you ever called the police to report a case of domestic violence against your husband?
Yes, I did.
When?
February 3rd, 2007.
And what was the result of that case?
It was dismissed.
At your request?
Yes.
You had to think about that?
Well, we met with the prosecuting attorney and we discussed it and she agreed to dismiss it.
Because that's what you wanted?
Absolutely.
Got it. I'd like to see the complaint she filed in November of 2008, and that's the one you're complaining about, is that right?
Yes.
And you were married December of 08?
Yes.
All comes clear. Did your wife ever discuss with you moving to Idaho?
No, we never discussed moving to Idaho just because of my work. I work in the mining industry. And
so if you were going to marry, the expectation was that she was going to move from Idaho to Utah?
Yes.
But you couldn't because she would have to leave her children behind.
Right. We knew we'd have to.
Right?
Yes.
Unless you got a court to agree to relocation.
Right.
You got where I'm going, Mr. Green?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Now you can sit. I'd like to see what she filed against you.
Sorry. I've got the complaint as well that I filed with the court.
I'd like to see it. You would agree with me that your timing was serendipitous, madam. You know what that means? That means that it was a month before your marriage to someone who lived out of state that you decided to file a protective order against either your husband or his wife.
That's actually incorrect. I had actually filed protection orders before. There is a history of abuse in this situation.
When was the first time that you filed a protective order against Mrs. Dinger?
The first time was June 1st of 07.
It was not awarded against me.
Well, just a second. Is that when you filed your first protective order against Mrs. Dinger?
Well, it's listed on here against the both of them.
I'd like to see it. And that was in June?
June of 07. The abuse didn't start when I got married. The abuse has been ongoing over the past several years.
You'll notice she filed application.
Well, this says the respondent is Donald Dinger. Your allegations with regard to any abuse were with regard to him, and the action was solely against him. And after you filed that, you agreed to have your children visit with their father every other weekend.
Correct.
And according to your statement to me earlier, you said you did that because the children didn't want to be away from you for 5 days straight. It interrupted their schooling. That's what you told me.
Correct.
Okay, now you can return this.
Can I say something on that particular issue?
No.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I've also got a police report from November 14th of 2008 when Tammy duct taped my daughter's head.
I did. I placed a piece of duct tape over her mouth.
Why?
Tammy Dinger says her husband's ex-wife, Tiana Green, falsely accused her of abusing her child. Tiana claims Tammy duct taped her daughter's mouth. She is countersuing for legal fees and punitive damages.
Okay, Ms. Dinger, was there a call from Child Protective Services by a school counselor?
Yes.
Did you speak to the school counselor or the child protective worker?
I spoke to police and the child protective worker.
And what happened as a result of that?
The case was dismissed.
I've got a copy of the report that was made
I'd like to see it.
From welfare. That was called in by the school counselor, not myself.
Oh, well, my dear Miss Dinger, this says that the school official saw fingernail marks on the child's face. That's what it says.
Yes, I've seen it.
It was called in by the school. It wasn't called, it was observed by someone at the school.
It's not the first time the child has made similar allegations. At one point in our home, she was sucking on her arm to give herself a hickey, which would turn out to look like a bruise, and informed her younger sister at the time, I'm going to tell the school counselor tomorrow that Tamby did this to me. We proceeded to the school the next day, which was a different counselor than this, to explain.
Okay, so it's a complicated issue.
Absolutely.
If what you're telling me is that the child made up a story.
Absolutely.
And the child made up, according to you, this story so that the fingernail marks on the child's cheek were as a result of her hurting herself in some way. But that's the story that she told the school guidance counselor.
Yes.
Then the school guidance counselor has an obligation to call Child Protective Services.
Absolutely.
And as the child's mother, even though I think that there was an ulterior motive on her part, she has an obligation to protect her children. Do you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Either she's going to say, my child is a liar, which is possible because they do lie, or I have to go along and believe her, especially since I know that there has been some domestic violence in that house. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah. Anyway, that's your lawsuit. Your lawsuit is that she had no right to file these charges against you.
In similar allegations that have arisen against her household, she has told police that her child is a liar.
It may be, but she has an obligation, as does the school, Ms. Dinger, to call in a report, and she has an obligation to seek a protective order. She does, even though the timing couldn't have been more perfect for her. Do you understand?
I do. Why is she? I have continuous emails where she's asking us to take the children following each incident that she reports. She needs to travel, so she wants us to take the children for her. She dismissed the protection order herself. The temporary one was awarded, as is done. She dismissed it.
And she dismissed it, and then she decided to pursue her case in the family court to relocate.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
15 days after dismissing it, asked us to take the children again.
Show me.
I have numerous emails here.
No, I would like to see, after she was advised by the school counselor that there were finger marks on the child's face, and after she filed for the protective order, I would like to see an email where she asks you to take care of the children.
Wednesday, the 7th of January, 2009.
Can I see it, please? Would you tell me what these emails are about?
We have gone solely to email communications, so I would have to see them to see.
Would you show this to Ms. Green?
Email communication that was supposed to be between their father and I.
Which are often addressed to me.
I just want you to explain that to me.
In a meeting. Looks like we were just, I mean, the fact is that the visitation had to occur. I couldn't get around that at that point. So it looks like here, I would like to keep this weekend the same. I'm flying to Salt Lake City. Once we had agreed that he would allow me to move with the children to Salt Lake, he quit taking them on his weekends. And so that's what this was.
Can I have that back, please?
And then I've also got a police report from November 14th of 2008 when Tammy duct taped my daughter's head.
It's not November 4th, 2008. She's incorrect.
I'm sorry, January 7th of 2008.
And she's also stating it incorrectly.
Well, tell me what you did.
First of all, it was...
No, just tell me what you did.
I did. I placed a piece of duct tape over her mouth, about a 3-inch.
Why?
3.5 hours of violence. She woke up in the morning screaming and yelling, violently acting out towards her 3 younger siblings.
How old is she?
At the time, in 2008, she would have been 10. She has a history of issues. I called her father when she was out of control prior to the duct tape.
And where was he?
He was at work.
Well, duct taping her mouth closed is inappropriate, Ms. Dinger.
Absolutely. It just didn't happen quite that way.
I don't care how it happened.
I called him. He called her. Her response to him was, Donald, when the children are on your time, they are on your responsibility. You call the doctor and get the medicine yourself. She was 1.3 miles from my home, had the medication, and chose not to aid me.
What does that have to do with duct taping the child's mouth closed?
After 3.5 hours, the child, she keeps coming out of her room. I'm putting in her room to try and separate her. She has hit me.
Listen to me. There are lots of ways, Ms. Dinger, to handle that kind of situation.
It wasn't handling it.
Listen.
It was I lost control.
No. Well, before you lose control, you take her, put her in the car, and take her home.
I had 7 other children.
That's not the 10-year-old's problem. That's your problem. If you folks have too many children, that's your problem. And if you can only take care of one child, only have one. And if you can't take care of one hysterical child, then you shouldn't have 6. What I'm telling you is, Your response in duct taping her mouth is inappropriate. And if you did it, she has a right to complain about it. And if the child complains to a school counselor that you put your hand over her mouth and your fingernails went into her face, which the counselor saw, I'm not saying how she got them, but that's what the child says, then her mother has a right to file a petition to keep you away from her children. At the same time, she can file in the family court to modify the order of custody or visitation. All I'm saying to you is, you gave her the ammunition. She chose to use it at an opportune time for her. But that doesn't mean you have a lawsuit. Because if you did, in fact, do what you just acknowledged to me that you did, she had an absolute right to file a petition to keep you away from her kids.
The only reason she had the ability to even have that is because I corroborated it. I stood up.
Doesn't make any difference, Miss Dinger. You don't have a lawsuit if the allegation is true, even though serendipity was sleeping in her corner because it came at a perfect time when she wanted to relocate her children away from their father because she was getting married. All happened at a very good time for her. That doesn't mean you have a lawsuit. Now, you have a counterclaim that I'm prepared to hear for about 5 minutes.
Okay. I also have a recording just showing the volatility that she can.
I don't need it. I heard it. I ruled on her case.
Okay.
Now I'm ready to hear what you think you have a lawsuit about.
Well, I've got attorney's fees that specifically detail out my attorney's work on this protection order case.
Well, my friend, you shouldn't have dismissed it. If you dismissed it, there had to be a reason.
I followed my attorney's advice.
Then go ask the attorney for your money. Did you file your attorney's advice when you filed it against her?
Actually, I did that on my own.
Did you file? Hey, don't play with me. Did you follow your attorney's advice when you filed it against her?
Yes.
Of course. Then you dismissed it on his advice. Yes. Then you refiled a petition to amend the order of custody to allow you to relocate, following his advice. Pay for your own lawyer.
Okay. I've also got proof to the abuse that's
Hey.